Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host. Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Hakem. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning, and I am glad that you joined us this morning. We have a busy show in store for you. We will be talking with Chemung County Executive Chris Moss in the 7 o'clock hour, so we look forward to hearing from him. We've got a lot to talk about when it comes to Iran. We've got some New York State issues with the budget process underway in Albany. What else? We got a lot of stuff. So let's get right to it. Late last night, early this morning, Marco Rubio, the U.S. Secretary of State, designated Afghanistan as a state sponsor of wrongful detention, accusing the Taliban of unjustly detaining Americans and other foreign nationals. In his announcement late yesterday, Rubio said, I guess his announcement came out Monday, but it's just being published early this morning. Rubio said the Taliban continues to use terroristic tactics that he insisted needed to end. I'm designating Afghanistan as a state sponsor of wrongful detention. The Taliban continues to use terrorist tactics, kidnapping individuals for ransom or to seek policy concessions. These despicable tactics need to end. It is not safe for Americans to travel to Afghanistan because the Taliban continues to unjustly detain our fellow Americans and other foreign nationals. The Taliban needs to release Dennis Coyle, Mohammed Habib, and all Americans unjustly detained in Afghanistan now and commit to cease the practice of hostage diplomacy forever. That came in late last night, but it looks as if it was posted earlier. Just so much news to cover that some slips under the radar. Also early this morning, a projectile has hit a cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz, setting the vessel ablaze after the United States targeted Iranian mine-laying vessels, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on in the program, that could target the narrow mouth of the Persian Gulf. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations Center, run by the British military, said the vessel had been hit just north of Oman in the strait. It said the crew was evacuating the ship. Iran did not immediately claim the attack, though it has been targeting ships in and around the strait, disrupting a waterway that sees a fifth of all oil and natural gas traded pass through it. So again, the British military says a cargo ship is ablaze in the Strait of Hormuz after being hit by a projectile. That came in early this morning. Now, also, in so much news, and obviously it's because of the difference in time, but Iran has accused Australia, and this is an update from yesterday's broadcast, of taking athletes, quote, hostage, as it emerged that one of the women who claimed asylum has changed her mind and will return to the Middle East. An Iranian diplomat and current spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs made the extraordinary claim on social media as news emerged that one of the women has changed her mind. Quote, they slaughter more than 165 innocent Iranian schoolgirls in a double-tap tomahawk attack in the city of Manab, and now they want to take our athletes hostage in the name of saving them, he said. The audacity and hypocrisy are staggering. To Iran's women's football team, don't worry, Iran awaits you with open arms. Come home. In Parliament, Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke revealed that one of the two members of the Iranian women's football squad who was granted humanitarian visas overnight has changed her mind and will return home. In Australia, people are able to change their mind. People are able to travel. So we respect the context in which she has made her decision. Burke said that as a result of the disclosure, the remaining women have been moved to protect the women from the Iranian government operatives in Australia. Burke told Parliament that all of the remaining women are in a new safe house. I immediately gave the instruction for people to be moved, and that's been dealt with immediately. I think we can all be proud of the Australian Federal Police, of officials, of everybody who's been involved. Well, Kristen Flemings at the New York Post has a good point on this, because we've seen so many protests, whether it was during the Olympics. You see past athletes who have protested in so many different ways, remaining utterly silent when it comes to the oppression of the Iranian women's soccer team. Well, Kristen Fleming said the post-Olympics news cycle was a dizzying display of hand-wringing over the supposed victimhood of empowered American female athletes. If we were to believe much of our media and feminist commentators, these women had been disrespected by President Trump, who cracked a joke, and by the men of Team USA Hockey, who laughed. It led to an online geyser of anger and indignation on the women's behalf. Off the phony controversy, we heard the refrain that women athletes are treated like gum on the bottom of a shoe, says Kristen Fleming. BuzzFeed even crowdsourced microaggressions, excuse me, frog in my throat, that time of year, in a piece entitled, Calling All Women's Athletes, Share a Time When You Felt Mistreated or Disrespected in Your Sport. But the truth is, American female athletes are the most privileged and in many cases best compensated in the world. It's why our women dominate. Beyond the top-notch resources at their disposal, they are free to marry whom they want, wear what they want, and speak out on their pet causes, even on a world stage. Surely the brave lionesses from Iran would trade places in a second. Their heartbreaking human drama is a sharp contrast to the freedoms females enjoy here. The Iranian women's soccer team now faces an uncertain future at home after a quiet pre-game protest in Gold Coast, Australia on March the 2nd. During a match against South Korea in the Asian Cup, the kickoff of which was less than 48 hours after the U.S. started bombing Iran's tyrannical regime, the women stood in defiance of the expectations from their government. They chose not to sing the national anthem. It was true courage on display, not a gesture that might sentence them to some nasty online comments, but one that came with real-life consequences. And we see here in the United States, when there is an athlete that protests, very often there's no consequences. What actually ends up happening is it gets them endorsements, it gets them major attention from the media, Hollywood. In this instance, by not singing the national anthem, the Iranian women's soccer team put their lives, their families' lives in danger. It was also a gamble and a leap of faith that perhaps they'd be returning home to a different Iran, one that allowed them freedom and self-determination. They lost the match to South Korea, but the world was watching, including Iranian state media, which branded them traitors during wartime. A presenter on Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting added the chilling verdict that they, quote, must be dealt with more severely, end quote. Reportedly under pressure from handlers and chaperones, the athletes publicly changed their tune. At subsequent matches, the women in hijabs dutifully sang along to the Iranian anthem and saluted. Who knows what terror befell them after their brave act? The athletes all faced fear of retribution against their families back home. After they were eliminated from the Cup in a 2-0 loss against the Philippines, panic started to set in. Even Trump urged Australia to take them in. He wrote on a Truth Social post, Australia is making a terrible humanitarian mistake by allowing the Iranian national women's soccer team to be forced back to Iran, where they will most likely be killed. The U.S. will take them if you won't. As the team bus departed from their hotel to the airport, the women were reportedly flashing a hand signal for help as supporters ran alongside them. 7 of the players have been officially granted asylum, and I think that's changed now, that where the one has changed their mind. In a striking photo with Tony Burke, Australia's Minister for Home Affairs, 5 of them posed without their hijabs. Still, on behalf of the players, Burke made the disclaimer that they were not political activists. No, but these women are courageous souls. And still, relative crickets from all the people who were outraged about American hockey after the Olympics. Where are the feminists, writes Kristen Fleming? Where are the companies eager to celebrate the Iranian team's bravery during International Women's Month? Where is retired soccer great and avowed activist Megan Rapinoe? I never knew how to say her name. I think it's Rapinoe. Who is just as known for her protesting as for her foot. Couldn't any of them spare a tweet, a word of support? Do they fear aligning with Trump so much that they'd rather shamefully remain silent? The story of the Iranian women's national soccer team will one day be a movie, and God willing, one with a happy ending. They deserve our respect and protection. These athletes aren't just playing for country or personal glory and for country. They were playing for their lives. I thought that was a really impactful piece by Kristen Fleming, one that we kind of glanced over the topic yesterday, so I wanted to go a little bit more in depth. We've got a few other quick things that there are no real segues to. I see that the Trump-backed candidate was victorious, but there will be a special election, if I'm understanding correctly, in the Marjorie Taylor Greene district. We'll talk about that. I have a couple other things about that, actually. Well, we'll get to that. So stay with us. We got to take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
An Albany, Buffalo, was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bus.
Day one of the National Glider Competition.
The best hockey rink?
Ask Google. The best jewelry store? Ask Google.
The best Ram dealer?
Ask Google. We did. Google reviews from customers rank Ferrario Ram in Elmira the highest Ram dealer in our area.
If you don't see me, I can't save you any money.
Check out the new Rams with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty during Ram Truck Month.
Visit Ferrario in Elmira or at Ferrario.com.
Everyone has a community, a neighborhood, school, place of worship, or other chosen groups. Communities can provide support when you need it, including helping your kids avoid underage drinking and other substance use. Learn more at talktheyhearyou.samhsa.gov.
Hi there. Scattered showers and possibly a rumble of thunder today. Southwest wind around 10 to 15 miles per hour. We will see one more warm day. Highs in the low 70s and big changes on the horizon. That begins the cold front. We start to pass the region tonight. Upper 20s to mid 30s, and then we're stuck with mid 30s to near 40 for highs on Thursday. Behind that cold front, it's breezy. We will stay generally cooler the rest of the forecast.
Oh darn, our roof cam is down, but we thank Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Boy, that was working earlier this morning. That's a bummer. It's very foggy out there, so it's a little eerie on Market Street this morning. All right, comment from a viewer. Iran's newly appointed supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, did not appear at his own allegiance ceremony. Instead, a cardboard cutout of him was displayed before supporters gathered in Tehran. He allegedly did not attend due to safety concerns and possible injuries following recent tensions in the region. I have to mention, too, because we had talked about the Iranian women's soccer team and their display of courage, and we always tell you about the protests in the streets that are so frustrating. You know, you see people talk about free Palestine, but, of course, remain completely silent when it comes to the Iranian people being murdered for protesting, being tortured. So when there is a protest, I want to mention it. Dozens of student groups on college campuses across California have thrown their support behind the joint U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran, despite Governor Gavin Newsom blasting the operation as illegal and without justification. A letter signed by 120 student groups said, "We express our profound gratitude and support for the U.S. and Israeli service members operating under extraordinary conditions. We stand in solidarity with these courageous men and women and their families as they work to degrade the structure of terrorism and safeguard the security of their nations." At least 26 of the student organizations are based in California, including many schools within the University of California public system, as well as the California State University system, the largest four-year public university system in the U.S., and private schools. The organization wrote, "For 47 years, the ruling Iranian regime has prioritized regional destabilization and proxy warfare over the well-being and aspirations of its own citizens." Signatories include a diverse range of groups, from chapters of national organizations like Students Supporting Israel at UC Berkeley and San Diego State, to campus-specific advocacy clubs such as Bruins for Israel at UCLA. You get the idea. I'm not going to go through every single area they were in. but a student at UCLA said President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's air campaign against the regime is necessary and long overdue. A democratic Iran is essential for the freedom and security of the free world. I wholeheartedly support a free Iran, she said. So when there is people taking that courageous stand, I think we have to give credit where credit is due. So I wanted to mention that to you. All right, speaking, I don't even know what to think about this, and I don't even know if it's worth wasting time, but I've got two media things on Iran. Before we really get into the kind of the important nuts and bolts of what's going on in Iran, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But did you see yesterday, I'm guessing you didn't, and I hate giving you updates on The View, but The View co-host Whoopi Goldberg, tell me if this one makes sense to you, claimed that President Donald Trump's actions in Iran were a method of distraction. What were they distracting on? What was the distraction for, I should say? To keep public attention off of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Okay, that's a cliche one. We saw that on social media. I'm sure you had a friend who thought they were the smartest person in the world by coming up with that. But she also thought it was the distraction from the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie's mother. It's nutty as heck, said Goldberg. And you're right. Every day it's something new. And it's, I was thinking about it yesterday. I thought, well, okay, why haven't we been talking about Savannah Guthrie and what's going on there? Why haven't we? Why have we not been talking about the Epstein files? Because that's still there. This is meant to get us so worked up that we are unable to see anything else. Sonny Hostin agreeing, saying it's a very wag the dog feeling. Wow, so full of cliches. So the theory from the brilliant political minds of The View is that a tyrannical regime that has attacked and killed countless American soldiers throughout the years, have been involved with Hamas, Hezbollah, financing them, encouraging their terroristic acts. We are to believe that Trump got involved. Oh, and we're currently working on a nuclear weapon and weapon systems that could reach America. We are to believe that we entered that war and started this operation because we wanted a distraction from Nancy Guthrie gone missing, kidnapped. I mean, I would say, I don't even want, why am I even getting into this? I don't know. Now, if you recall, you may have heard this. Goldberg compared living in the U.S. to living in Iran back in June. Do you remember when we mentioned this back in June of last year? Despite co-host Alyssa Farah Griffin pushing back and pointing out how the Iranian regime has treated women. Griffin said, in the year 2025, because this happened last June, in the United States, it is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit into Iran right now. Goldberg said, it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it. Griffin reiterated her point and repeated that living in the U.S. in 2025 was, quote, very different than living in Iran. Goldberg insisted, not if you're black, not for everybody. Goldberg said Monday that Trump was sending Americans to war to lose their lives. Basically, we are sending people in to lose their lives because we have seen how fighting goes. We knew we shouldn't have gone into Afghanistan. We knew that. And they decided to do it anyway. So now we are in the same position where someone who doesn't seem to care that human beings are being sent to war and people's sons and daughters, his kids aren't going, Goldberg said. Wow, a lot of cliches. I don't even know why I mentioned that. But since we're talking about how bad the media is and how they've lost all credibility in that instance, Whoopi Goldberg suggesting we got involved with Iran because of Nancy Grace missing. Did you see how CNN discussed the Gracie Mansion bombing, or the bombs hurled at Gracie Mansion? It hasn't got as much coverage because Zohran Mamdani is parsing his words, being very careful in what he says. You saw Governor Hochul doing the same, saying both sides of these protests were bad, not referring specifically to the people hurling the bombs. CNN, and they have since deleted the social media post. I want to read this social media post about these ISIS-inspired fanatics. This is the post. from CNN. Quote, 2 Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day, enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather. But in less than an hour, their lives would drastically change, as the pair would be arrested for throwing homemade bombs during an anti-Muslim protest outside of Mayor Zohran Mamdani's home. Okay, so they just wanted to enjoy a beautiful day in the city. They just happened to have these bombs, one called the Mother of Satan, just happened to have these on them. It was probably unrelated. By Tuesday morning, so that was Monday, again, 2 Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day, enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather. By Tuesday morning, a link to the social media post produced an error message, and the news outlet released a statement acknowledging that it had deleted the post, saying, quote, a post regarding the 2 individuals arrested for throwing homemade bombs outside of New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani's home failed to reflect the gravity of the incident, thereby breaching the editorial standards we require for all of our reporting. It has therefore been deleted. The full article remained available on CNN's website, notably referring to the 2 people as 2 Pennsylvania men, not teenagers, and omitting the flowery language on the weather and what could have been a normal day. Anyway, so many social media users mock them. What sort of country do we live in where 2 Pennsylvania teenagers aren't allowed to enjoy a lovely spring day throwing bombs at people? One user wrote. Another joke, 2 guys on a day out in Manhattan. Plan 1, a walk through sunny Central Park. 2, brunch at a stylish cafe. 3, a little routine terrorism. 4, haircut, maybe a manicure. Unbelievable. All right, we got to take a break. I see some comments coming in. I see some waves coming in as well. We've got a lot to cover. We're just getting started, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
I lost my 19-year-old son Johnny to suicide after he became psychotic from using marijuana, vapes, and dabs. He experienced cannabis-induced psychosis and thought the mob and the FBI were after him. Dabs are products with concentrated, high-potency THC, the chemical in marijuana that gives users the high feeling. One hit on a dab pen today is the same as smoking 50 old-fashioned joints back in the day. Use of THC before the age of 25 causes changes in brain development, a loss of IQ points, and lower motivation. Studies show THC increases the risk of anxiety, depression, and schizophrenia in developing brains. I lost my child, but it's not too late for yours. Educate your teen on the harms of marijuana.
A public service message from the nonprofit Johnny's Ambassadors. Learn the risks and get the facts at johnnysambassadors.org.
Of nature, collisions happen when you least expect them. Deer hits can turn a tranquil drive into a chaotic moment. When the unexpected happens, turn to Scott's Collision. At Scott's Collision, we understand the frustration of unexpected encounters with wildlife. From dents to more extensive damage, we've got you covered. When nature and your vehicle collide, trust Scott's Collision to bring it back to life.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Couple of comments from viewers. Oh, and good morning, Mark. I'm going to talk about the Georgia special election because it was yesterday. We got all the information there. So thank you, Mark. We appreciate the good morning, and good morning to you. Comment from a different viewer. Whoopi's IQ must be somewhere around minus 100. Obviously an anti-genius. But hey, at least she stands alone in this. But the IQ of her co-hosts are not that much better. We got involved in Iran to cover up, I guess, information about Nancy Grace's disappearance. Okay, I don't know. And a comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. You may have mentioned this already recently, but did you see where General Dan Kane was born in Elmira? I've been seeing a lot of him lately, and I'm happy to hear that fact. Dan Raisin Kane. I did not know that. That was off my radar, and I can't thank you enough for bringing that to my attention. Yes, his nickname Raisin Kane, of course, the most appropriate nickname for a general. So John Daniel Raisin Kane, born August 1968 in Elmira, New York. Cool. I think we got some ideas for some new signage coming into Elmira now that the old one with some of its flaws have been removed. Now, that's exciting. Boy, a lot of people from around our area. We talked about, well, we won't get into all that, but of some of the history here, like Terry Cole. And the only reason I said we won't get into it, we've talked about this quite a bit, being from Corning. So I thought that was, that's kind of cool. Thank you for sending that to me. All right. Sorry, getting a lot of comments coming in. All right. Georgia, to Mark's point, the Georgia special election to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene in Congress will head to a runoff after none of the candidates in the crowded field received a majority of voter support. Democrat Sean Harris, a veteran who served in Afghanistan as a combat infantry commander, was the top vote getter in the nonpartisan jungle-style race to represent Georgia's 14th congressional district in Washington. Harris, who lost to Greene in the 14th district back in 2024, received about 37% of the vote and will square off against Republican Clay Fuller in the April 7th runoff. So that's coming right up. There should be a quick turnaround on these runoffs. April 7th. This is not about me, Harris said. This is about all the people here in Northwest Georgia. This is a win for them because finally Northwest Georgia is saying, let's give the leader in Congress. Let's give the leader in Congress. Yes, we've got to go to a runoff. That's not a problem. I'm looking forward to actually winning here on April 7th. All right. Fuller, going back to the Republican, Clay Fuller, who was endorsed by President Trump, was the top performing Republican in a race where several GOP candidates split the vote. The Air National Guard officer and district attorney received about 35% of the vote in the solidly red district. Fuller saying, I'm proud to have kept my word to run on my record and vision for how I want to represent this district. He pledged to run a positive campaign ahead of Election Day. If I can't win on my record, then I don't want to win. I'm not paid for a single ad talking about a fellow Republican because that's not how I wanted to compete. So there we are. There is the reference there. Also, Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith from Mississippi cruised to victory Tuesday in Mississippi's Republican Senate primary election. Hyde-Smith, who has served in the upper chamber since 2018, earned 83% of the vote about 30 minutes after polls closed. The Republican incumbent will be heavily favored against her Democrat opponent in the solid red state. Democrats Scott Coleman, Priscilla Till, and Albert Little are vying to face Hyde-Smith in the November midterm election. So there's a couple updates from yesterday. Thank you for that. Oh, also, perhaps you heard, President Donald Trump has appointed Erica Kirk, the widow of Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk, to serve on the board of visitors for the United States Air Force Academy. Erica Kirk, who serves as CEO of her late husband's conservative youth organization, Turning Point USA, is listed among those appointed to the board by President Trump on the Academy's website. The board inquires into the morale, discipline, curriculum, instruction, physical equipment, fiscal affairs, academic methods, and other matters relating to the Academy which the board decides to consider. Erica Kirk sits on the board alongside Senator Tommy Tuberville, Dan Clark, Doug Nicola, and Diana Powell, with one seat currently vacant. All right. Now, we had someone mention the SAFE Act, I believe. If not, we should give you this update. 3 Republicans, Republican Keith Self, representing Texas's 3rd congressional district in the U.S. House of Representatives, Republican Mark Harris, representing North Carolina's 8th congressional district, and Republican Randy Fine, representing Florida's 6th congressional district, put together this letter and sent it to Fox News, saying Wednesday marks 1 month since House Republicans took a bold stand for the soul of our democracy by passing the Save America Act. This common sense legislation requires proof of citizenship to vote and a voter ID. Basic measures any American can support. Yet in the marble halls of the Senate, Majority Leader John Thune is playing games, refusing to even bring the bill to the floor for debate. Enough is enough. It's time for House Republicans to draw a line in the sand. We are prepared to vote no. We are prepared to vote no on any Senate legislation until the upper chamber stops dragging its feet and passes the Save America Act. Let's be crystal clear about what's at stake. In an era when our elections are under constant threat from fraud, illegal votes, and shadowy influences, the Save America Act isn't just policy, it's a lifeline for the Republic. Requiring proof of citizenship ensures that only American voices shape America's future. Voter ID, that's not controversial, it's essential. We've seen the chaos in states without these safeguards. Ballots cast by non-citizens, dead voters mysteriously rising from the grave, and harvesting of questionable mail-in ballots with the power to tip the scales in favor of the radical left. The American people know this. A whopping 71% of all Americans support these election integrity reforms. That's not just conservatives, that's independents, moderates, and even some Democrats. In an era when our elections are under constant threat, I mentioned that. And sometimes they put that line back in there. While Americans demand real action to secure our elections, Senate Republicans are twiddling their thumbs on feel-good fluff that would make a circus clown blush. In the past month alone, they found time to pass a resolution celebrating a Mardi Gras dog parade in the Senate. The Republican majority can and must do better. Just last week, the House passed Thune's Tribal Trust Land Homeownership Act. Dozens of House conservatives voted no because it's outrageous that we were fast-tracking niche bills while election integrity reform still stalled in the Senate. If they can't muster the spine for real issues, why reward their inaction? Over the weekend, Donald Trump laid it out simply. He won't sign any legislation crossing the desk until the Save America Act is passed. President Trump understands what the elites in Washington often forget, that our elections are the bedrock of freedom. Without secure voting, everything else crumbles. Our economy, our borders, our very way of life. Radical progressive Democrats and their media allies howl about voter suppression and Jim Crow 2.0. But that's just code for wanting open doors to fraud. They fear the Save America Act because it levels the playing field, ensuring every legal vote counts and every illegal one does not. House Republicans, we've got the power and the duty to force the Senate's hand. The bottom line is this. We're prepared to vote no on the bills emerging from the Senate until they prioritize the Save America Act. No more dog parade resolutions. No more niche legislation. Nothing moves until election integrity does. This isn't brinkmanship, it's principle. We've seen what happens when we compromise with the swamp. Endless giveaways to special interests while the American worker gets shafted. By holding firm, we're not just protecting votes, we're honoring the millions who showed up in 2024 to reclaim our country from the Biden-Harris nightmare. Critics may scream that our strategy is obstructionism, but let's call it what it is. Thune and his crew are the real blockers, slow-walking a wildly popular bill while chasing side quests. Force the showdown. Put Democrats on the Senate floor in a full Mr. Smith goes to Washington moment, making them own their stance. Quote, yes, we want non-citizens voting in our election, end quote. Democrats can only talk for so long before the question inevitably comes down to a simple majority vote, and the Save America Act will be on its way to President Trump's desk. This is the American people's rights. This is the American people's fight. They've endured stolen opportunities, inflated prices, and open borders under Democrat rule. The Save America Act is our chance to lock in conservative wins for good. House Republicans, it's time to lead since our colleagues in the Senate won't. Block the fluff. Pass the Save America Act and make elections secure again. The clock is ticking, Senator Thune. Your move. So again, Republican Keith Self, Mark Harris, and Randy Fine vowing to vote no on everything that comes to the House until the SAVE Act is put through the Senate, or is put up to vote in the Senate. All right, we got to take a short break. Don't forget, in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking with Chemung County Executive Chris Moss. We will be right back after this.
Ferrari Auto Team!
The best hot cocoa?
Ask Google. The best ski resort? Ask Google.
The best Jeep dealer?
Ask Google. We did. Google reviews from customers rank Ferrario Jeep in Elmira the highest Jeep dealer in our area.
If you don't see me, I can't save you any money.
Check out the new Jeeps during our President's Day sales event.
Visit Ferrario in Elmira or at Ferrario.com.
Poverty to disease, conflict to environmental issues, the world faces complex challenges. But when people unite and take action, we can make a difference. That's why Rotary remains committed to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, supporting causes that foster collaboration, peace, and prosperity for everyone, everywhere. We are people of action. We share a passion for improving communities and creating lasting change. When local communities, governments, and experts join forces to secure access to clean water, sanitation, and quality health care, diseases are prevented, children can attend school, and everyone can prosper. By creating economic opportunities, ensuring quality education, and building stability, cycles of poverty and conflict are broken, and we can safeguard our natural world for generations to come. Learn more, find your cause, and take action at Rotary.org.
Hi there. Scattered showers and possibly a rumble of thunder today. Southwest wind around 10 to 15 miles per hour. We will see one more warm day. Highs in the low 70s and big changes on the horizon. That begins the cold front. We start to pass the region tonight. Upper 20s to mid 30s, and then we're stuck with mid 30s to near 40 for highs on Thursday. Behind that cold front, it's breezy. We will stay generally.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's go to some viewer comments. We exchanged a turtle, Mitch McConnell, for a snail, John Thune. I like that. That's perfect. You're exactly right. Comment from a different viewer. Just curious, Frank, what rectified the yellow hue that used to be apparent on your show? Did they change the lighting? Well, we had our brilliant engineers, Brian and Chris Severson, come in and monkey with it. Got it figured out so that it was no longer yellow. It's going to be interesting with the time change and the difference in weather if that changes anything. But right now, yeah, we're no more yellow. They did a great job, as they always do. That's why they have a special thanks at the end of the credits. Okay. One last thing before we get into Iran. DHS shutdown. Yes, remember that partial government shutdown still ongoing. Forces airports to tell travelers to arrive 4 hours early amid the massive delays. Wow. Because remember, TSA agents have not been receiving a paycheck. They're still working, but it's pretty easy to call off when maybe you can't afford daycare that week. You can't afford, or you got to maybe make some extra money on the side. Who knows? These days, the shutdown is causing massive delays at some airports across the country, with wait times for travelers of 3.5 hours reported at major hubs due to officer shortages. The TSA website and app paused operation on February 17th. The site will not be updated until after funding is enacted, the TSA says on its site. Some individual airport track security line wait times, so we would point them in that direction, said a spokesperson. But again, they are telling travelers to arrive 4 hours early for their flight. And you think about how rough it is in an airport, how expensive it is in an airport, in some of these major hubs to sit there for 4 hours. Okay, on Iran. As Reuters reported, as many as 150 U.S. troops have been wounded in the 10-day-old war with Iran. The casualty figures has not been previously reported. Prior to Reuters' publication of the figure, the Pentagon had only disclosed 8 U.S. personnel seriously injured. In a statement after Reuters published its report, the Pentagon estimated that the figure to be approximately 140 wounded and said the vast majority of them were minor. Since the start of Operation Epic Fury, approximately 140 U.S. service members have been wounded over 10 days of sustained attacks, said Sean Parnell. He said 108 of the wounded service members had already returned to duty. He said the 8 seriously wounded service members were receiving the highest level of medical care. Now, we know that Iran began laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. The mining is not extensive yet, with a few dozen having been laid in recent days. But Iran still retains upward of 80 to 90% of its small boats and mine layers. One of the sources said now the U.S. did destroy the Iranian naval vessel, including 16 mine layers near the Strait of Hormuz late yesterday. The strikes came amid reports that Iran had already begun laying mines along the vital shipping lane, which carries about 20% of the world's oil supply, despite Trump's demands that it remain open and unaffected as tensions with the U.S. and Israel escalate. If Iran has put any mines in the Hormuz Strait, and we have no report of them doing so, we want them removed immediately. If for any reason mines were placed and they were not removed forthwith, the military consequences to Iran will be at a level never seen before. If, on the other hand, they remove what may have been placed, it will be a giant step in the right direction. U.S. Central Command shared footage of multiple vessels being annihilated. Even after having more than 50 Iranian naval vessels destroyed, Tehran still has over 80% of its small boats and mine layers, as I mentioned, according to CNN. While the exact size of the nation's mine stock is unknown, previous estimates suggested the Islamic Republic has access to roughly 2,000 to 6,000 hidden sea explosives on hand. So, Trump warning Iran not to put mines in the Strait of Hormuz. It sounds as if they are not listening. I know there's a lot. The media is saying Iran is more defiant than ever. The media really pushing this kind of propaganda aspect, almost trying to show Iran being victorious. Maybe victorious is a strong word, but being so defiant that they are surprising us. I don't see that. I know Pete Hegseth said yesterday that it would be the biggest day in attacks against Iran. Hezbollah and Iran did unleash coordinated cluster bombs on Israel in a major escalation. This coming out yesterday. It was a coordinated strike strategy, a national security expert claimed, as reports emerged that deadly cluster munitions were hitting Israel in synchronized attacks. The developments unfolded on day 11 of Operation Epic Fury and Roaring Lion, the joint U.S.-Israeli campaign targeting Iran. A senior researcher at the Institute of National Security Studies said Hezbollah has fully joined the war, and it looks like they are now very well coordinated with Iran. Most of Hezbollah's rockets and drones are launched simultaneous with the Iranian missiles. Israel confirmed yesterday that Iran had been firing the cluster munitions, adding a complicated and deadly challenge to Israel's stretched air defenses. The warhead burst open at high altitude, scattering dozens of smaller bomblets across a wide area. The smaller bombs, which at night can resemble orange fireballs, are difficult to intercept and have proven lethal. Fox News correspondent Nate Foy also said despite Israel's strong air defense, half of the missiles are hard to defend against because half of the missiles are cluster munitions. The Iranian use of cluster missiles and the idea that they are deliberately targeting civilians and civil facilities must be considered as a use of non-conventional weapons, and the American-Israeli response must be appropriate, they argued. Banned by more than 120 nations under the 2008 Convention on Cluster Munitions, the weapons are widely condemned for their broad area, indiscriminate effects that often result in catastrophic civilian harm. It said sources claim the group was returning to its roots in guerrilla warfare in South Lebanon as well. Operating in small units, fighters from the Iran-backed group are avoiding the use of communication devices that could be at risk of Israeli tapping and are rationing the use of key anti-tank rockets as they engage Israeli troops. Michael also noted that the north of the country towards the Haifa area is under heavy bombing. Israeli citizens have to spend most of their time in the shelter rooms as Hezbollah and Iran deliberately target civilians and civilian facilities. Tel Aviv is under an emergency routine, with sirens continuing and many people spending a lot of time in the bomb shelter rooms. Israel is a small country and will not be able to continue containing such asymmetry and this type of attrition war. All right. We also learn that lethal elite, quote, black-clad kill squad guards, Iran's new supreme leader. An elite counterterrorism unit has been deployed to protect Iran's newly appointed supreme leader, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khomeini, following the assassination of his father. The force, known as NOPO, Iran's black-clad counterterrorism special force, was assigned to safeguard the leader after a U.S.-Israel strike on Tehran compound that, of course, killed his father. With Khamenei gone, NOPO will likely now be protecting Mojabi Khamenei, said an official with the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Paris-based National Council of Resistance of Iran. The NOPO force, formed in 1991, why am I going through the history of that? All right, we've got some more comments. I heard the Corning whistle. Keep your comments, keep your statements, your questions coming in. We've got a lot more to talk about Iran. A couple of things here about New York. As I mentioned, Chemung County Executive Chris Moss will be our guest in the 7 o'clock hour. But I also want to note that tomorrow we're going to hear from Elmira College. They have a performance coming up, a rendition of William Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. So we'll hear all about that on tomorrow's broadcast. And on Friday, it's Horseheads Mayor Kevin Adams. So we got them. So get your questions in for either, if you'd like. But Chris Moss coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. All right, stay with us. Boy, this hour's going quick, too. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and Horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
At the Corning Painted Post High School Learning Center, we provide students with a variety of community-based and academic opportunities and a fresh start. Located on the Corning Community College campus, students earn high school credits and gain real-world experiences through community service, internships, art partnerships, and work opportunities, experiences they value for a lifetime. Our students find a place to reconnect and succeed. The Corning Painted Post High School Learning Center, turning fresh starts into future success.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
This year, WYDC is bringing you 25 New York Mets games free over the air this spring and summer. No fees and no subscription services. Tune into WJKP 48.2 to watch the New York Mets this MLB.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss. Well, there is no roof cam. I forgot it was reading comments here and it was needs to be restarted. But we thank Boss Security anyway. A couple of quick updates. Iran's new supreme leader has been reported as, quote, safe. There was a lot of rumors swirling because of his absence. But again, that's coming from kind of the propaganda outlets. So we will see. We know he'd been injured, is what was originally reported. Also, just moments ago, attacks near the Strait of Hormuz as Iran ramps up its strikes. So we'll keep you updated. 3 vessels were hit by unknown projectiles near the strait earlier today. 1 cargo vessel caught fire, but that was later extinguished and caused no environmental damage. So there we are. The strike's intensifying. All right. Mark writes in, it's good to see Republicans finally getting some backbone to vote no on everything until the SAVE Act is passed, much like the Democrats not funding DHS and the shutdown fight. Fight fire with fire. Thank you very much. Also, a comment from a different viewer, a digression. The fake news outlets here in the USA are no better than the Russia's Sputnik or Russia Today propaganda machines. Thank you very much. That's what a lot of the coverage looks like. Now, Pete Hegseth said Tuesday that Iran's military power is being systematically degraded and annihilated as Operation Epic Fury entered its 10th day yesterday. Now we are in the 11th. Declaring the campaign will end on our timeline and our choosing, while forcefully pushing back against suggestions it could devolve into another prolonged Middle East conflict. And that is the question over and over by the media. How long is this going to be? Is it prolonged? They want to put the narrative in the people's heads that this is a forever war. I mean, CNN's one headline, also just not even hiding their bias, Trump's war of choice in Iran hands Putin an opportunity. So we see, to that viewer's comment, we see kind of the propaganda that's being pushed, but the question over and over again, will this be a forever war? And that's why Democrats have kind of latched onto that, and you hear them use those talking points. Now, we don't have to go through all of what Hegseth said, but he said, as someone who led troops in the streets of Baghdad and Samarra and trained counterinsurgents in Kabul, and who still carries the weight of brothers lost to Iranian terrorist proxies, this fight hits home. Our generation understands this fight. He pointed to the Iran regime's decades-long record of backing militant groups responsible for attacks that killed and maimed American troops. Quote, for 47 years, these barbaric savages in the Iranian regime have murdered our brothers in arms, my guys, your guys, our guys, through their terrorist proxies and cowardly acts. Now they race toward a nuclear bomb to hold the world hostage. They race to a nuclear bomb. President Trump will never allow it, not now, not ever, not on our watch. The mullahs are desperate and scrambling. Like the terrorist cowards they are, they fire missiles from schools and hospitals, deliberately targeting innocents because they know their military is being systematically degraded and annihilated. Iran's neighbors, and in some cases former allies in the Gulf, have abandoned them. Their proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas, are either broken, ineffective, or on the sidelines. Iran stands alone, and they are badly losing. You see, this is not 2003. This is not endless nation building under those types of quagmires we saw under Bush or Obama. It's not even close. Our generation of soldiers will not let that happen again. Those days are dead. It's a laser-focused maximum authority mission delivered with overwhelming and unrelenting precision, no hesitation, no half measures. Our will is endless, but the war is not. It's not protracted. We're not allowing mission creep. The president has set a very specific mission to accomplish, and our job is to unrelentingly deliver that. We will not relent until the enemy is totally and decisively defeated, but we do so on our timeline and our choosing. Our will is endless. The world needs to understand this isn't intended to expand. We know exactly what we're attempting to achieve here. Scoped property. All right. And I guess... yeah, okay. Now, Iran issued a... okay, let's take our last break for this hour. Keep those comments coming in. We're having great discussions this morning. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
When it comes to cleaning your house or business, Magic Rags Cleaning Service has you covered from ceiling to floor. With powerful steam cleaning and attention to detail, we have you covered for moving out cleans, move-in cleans, Airbnbs, or just keeping everything neat and tidy. We go above and beyond in our residential and commercial cleaning, and our professional crew makes sure that your house or business is always ready for company. Call our number or schedule an appointment on Yelp or Facebook today.
New York State nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lee Com Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
Hi there. Scattered showers and possibly a rumble of thunder today. Southwest wind around 10 to 15 miles per hour. We will see one more warm day. Highs in the low 70s and big changes on the horizon. That begins the cold front. We start to pass the region tonight. Upper 20s to mid 30s, and then we're stuck with mid 30s to near 40 for highs on Thursday. Behind that cold front, it's breezy. We will stay.
We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. A comment from a viewer regarding the Democrat shutdown. Yes, still ongoing. Given that tornado season, the possibility of major floods and so on at this time of year, the fact that Democrats are refusing to fund FEMA will hopefully not be overlooked by shallow thinkers. I think it'll be overlooked by the media. The media is trying right now, not to say they're not shallow thinkers, they realize that this is not a winning message for Democrats on the shutdown because you're looking at TSA with wait lines of 4 hours, like you mentioned there with FEMA, the Coast Guard, all of them not getting paid, while ICE is getting paid. they realize that it's not a winning message for Democrats, and that's why you've heard very little about it. Now, you can say, well, Frank, what's going on in Iran? I get that. But if they thought that was a winning message, they would be running with it. And you know that. They would be talking about how bad the government shutdown is. It wouldn't just be Fox News reporting on the 3.5 to 4 hour wait lines at the airport. It would be every single broadcast mixed in with what's happening in Iran. But they realize it's not a winning message for Democrats. So normally, something they would report on. In this case, not reporting on it. Okay. As I had mentioned before break, the Iran Supreme National Security Council issued a sinister and incredibly personal warning, says Sarah Hooper. They told Donald Trump to watch himself or be eliminated. The council's secretary, Iranian Supreme National Security Council Secretary Ali Larijani, said in a statement, "The nation of Iran is not afraid of your empty threats. Even those bigger than you could not eliminate the Iranian nation. Watch yourselves or you might be eliminated." All right. Well, we're seeing a lot of rhetoric from them. And I see, places like CNN and elsewhere have absolutely no problem giving them the airtime with interviews. I find that so odd. But there are people. There is no denying, and I bring these up because I want to get your attention. There are people that are clearly not happy. What is going on? It's not just Democrats. It's not just the media. Joe Rogan, who was a supporter of Trump, ripped President Trump for what he called an insane war against Iran. It just seems so insane based on what he ran on, Joe Rogan said. I mean, this is why a lot of people feel betrayed, right? He ran on no more wars and these stupid, senseless wars. And then we have one that we can't even really clearly define why we did it. Rogan may feel deceived by Trump, but MAGA appears to overwhelmingly back the president thus far. A new YouGov Economist poll showed 91% of MAGA voters and 83% of self-identified Republicans support the war on Iran. Rogan also questioned if Trump was pushed into attacking Iran by Israel, saying it just doesn't make any sense to me unless you're acting on someone else's interests, like particularly Israel's interests, adding that clearly Israel wanted this. Now, Rogan is not the only prominent pundit who feels that way. We know Tucker Carlson. I don't want to quote him. Megyn Kelly. Well, there you go. So your thoughts on it. Whoa, my goodness, we are out of time. Stay with us. Hour number 2, moments away. We'll be right back.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Thanks for coming to talk about Doug Jr.
Of course. 3rd grade is when I learned Liberty Mutual could save you hundreds by customizing your car insurance.
Why don't you come sit with us?
Oh, a little snug. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Maxey is a veteran. He was a combat medic in the Army.
I did tours in Korea, Germany, and Bosnia before I got injured.
There's been a lot of wear and tear on his body.
My knees are bone on bone from doing all those jumps and lugging my backpack and all that gear around. I was also exposed to toxins.
When Yusuf got out of the military, he needed help getting his disability benefits.
Luckily, DAV came to the rescue. They fought for me the same way that I fought for my country.
Every year, DAV provides life-changing support to more than 1 million veterans like Yusuf, helping them get the benefits they've earned so they can achieve victories, great and small.
Now Yusuf is paying it forward. DAV has been instrumental in helping him start 2 healthcare technology companies that are working to help veterans everywhere.
My victory is never giving up and finding more ways to serve.
He's pretty amazing.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to D.
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. And we've got a few viewer comments to get to. In this hour, we're going to be talking with Chemung County Executive Chris Moss. That'll be here in about 10, 15 minutes, somewhere through there. We'll be, of course, reading your comments throughout the whole hour. I'm going to start the hour with a weird story. But first, comments from viewers. What Rogan has missed is all the mayhem that Iran has caused over the last 47 years. It is about time that we have finally stood up to these bullies. That's a very good point, and I appreciate it. Ken writes in, what part of ICE is fully funded don't the Democrats understand? The sad reality is that the sheeple, about half of the nation, believe the Democrats are doing the right thing, mostly because they believe the propaganda that they are being told. Thank you, Ken. We appreciate that. All right, before we get back into Iran, Reader's Digest, and I think we should have started New York updates on this, but Reader's Digest asks, do you live in a cheapskate state? So they have which are the states that are total cheapskates when it comes to tipping and giving the smallest or largest tips? Who is the biggest cheapskates? Well, the most generous tippers, South Carolina gives on average 20.71%. Number 2, Wisconsin. 3, Connecticut. Maryland. Nevada. I would have thought Nevada would have been higher with tips. Maybe because you have to tip so much in like Vegas. But all right, which states are total cheapskates according to Reader's Digest? Number 1, Oregon, tipping at 13.10%. Virginia tipping at 13.58%. And coming in 3, the Empire State, New York State, 13.72%. So we're the third biggest cheapskates. Well, that could be because we're broke living in New York State. Maybe that's the reason, which we are going to talk a little bit about the budgets that came out yesterday if we have an opportunity. I want to talk more about Iran, though. We jump right back in. Republican Senator Rand Paul said that the midterms could be disastrous for Republicans if the war in Iran continues. He told Maria Bartiromo at Fox News, already we are behind the 8 ball as far as the electoral process. I think if you add in high gas prices, high oil prices, and if we are still bombing Iran with kinetic action, people don't want to call it war. If there's still kinetic action that causes oil to be over $100, I think we're going to see a disastrous election. Okay. There you are. Thank you, Rand Paul. Senator John Kennedy offered an apology on behalf of America for the airstrike on an Iranian girls' school that local officials say killed 175 pupils and teachers. After President Trump suggested an Iranian misfire may have caused the tragedy, Kennedy told reporters on Capitol Hill, it was terrible, we made a mistake. Other countries do that sort of thing intentionally, like Russia. We would never do that intentionally. I think the department is investigating it now, and I'm sorry. I'm just so sorry it happened. It was a mistake. Now, I'm not sure why Kennedy came out and said that, because after Trump gave a press conference that he isn't sure if the U.S. military was responsible for the carnage on the first day of the war, after footage emerged appearing to show a Tomahawk missile landing at the site, which should be noted is near an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps building. I haven't seen it, and I will say that the Tomahawk, which is one of the most powerful weapons around, is used by, is sold and used by other countries, Trump said. Mark Kelly, Senator Mark Kelly, Democrat from Arizona, of course, making a name for himself, some suggesting that he may run for president for the Democratic ticket. Well, on MS Now, on the last word, Kelly said, I've been keeping a running list of I'm up to about 12 reasons why we are in this conflict. I haven't heard the president give any kind of explanation for how this is good for the American people. I mean, folks are having a hard time affording gas, which is obviously going up and will probably continue to do that, but rent and groceries. How does this benefit everyday Americans? We've got no explanation. The Straits of Hormuz now it's publicly reported, have some sea mines there. That's going to be extra discouraging for ships to pass through there. 20% of the world's crude oil goes through those straits. I would expect gas prices to go up under this situation we're currently in. I don't think this president really anticipated how this would go. He didn't have a strategic plan. He didn't even factor Russia into the entire calculation you were talking about earlier, how the Russians are going to benefit from this. And I can't imagine there was any thought to the war in Ukraine between Russia, because, we have a president that doesn't think strategically, and he doesn't seem to know all that much. You know, this talk of unconditional surrender, I think you highlighted how ridiculous it is and sounds, because it's a ridiculous statement for him to make and for his press secretary to echo. Senator Chris Murphy, this is the propaganda that we're talking about. Chris Murphy said the most sacred responsibility that a commander-in-chief has is the decision on when to send our men and women into war, because it obviously exposes our young soldiers to the unthinkable, to dying in combat. And that's why our founding fathers said one person shouldn't be in charge. It should be up to Congress listening to the American people. I just came from a 2-hour closed-door classified briefing on the war. Just confirmed to me it's totally incoherent. We are not going to be able to achieve any of our stated objectives, not a single one, according to Chris Murphy. But I mention it because it's another closed-door briefing. We have still not yet heard a full explanation as to why this is necessary. We still have no hearings in front of Congress that the public can see. And I think that's pretty simple, because if the president did what the Constitution says, come to the Congress to get authorization for the war, he wouldn't get it, because the American people would demand that the members of Congress or senators, whether they be a Republican or Democrat, vote no, because this is a disaster of epic proportion. This is now a disaster of epic proportion. It is already getting Americans killed. It's driving up prices here at home. Harder line leadership, more antithetical to U.S. interests, are strengthening inside Iran, and there's really no way that we're going to be able to destroy their nuclear program, because most of it is buried underground, unless we mount a ground invasion, which would be even more disastrous and more unpopular. This has just been a debacle, a 10-day debacle. So is he suggesting, and that's kind of been the mindset of Democrats for a very long time, almost throw up your hands, there's nothing we can do about Iran getting a nuclear weapon. I mean, he says it there. There's nothing we can do. We're not going to be able to destroy their nuclear program because most of it's buried underground, unless we mount a ground invasion, which would be even bigger disaster. So it was happy continuing around the old path, and we continue with the propaganda. Trump's war of choice in Iran hands Putin an opportunity, according to Nathan Hodge at CNN. I don't want to go through everything that he says. For the time being, then, the global energy crisis may bring Putin new dividends as he presses on with his war on Ukraine. Now, Mike Pence, clearly not a big fan of President Donald Trump, was his original vice president. I don't think we have to go through the history of this. But Mike Pence put a piece out at Fox News, and he said, Trump and our incredible military are ending 40 years of Iranian terror. From its inception in 1979, the Islamic Republic of Iran has long engaged in open hostility and violence towards the United States and Israel, and has been a malign source of chaos and disorder across the Arab world. On February 28th, America said enough is enough. With the daylight launch of Operation Epic Fury, our country initiated hostilities against the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. But America did not start this war. After 47 years of terrorism and bloodshed, the armed forces of the United States and our ally Israel have combined overwhelming military force to end it. As Operation Epic Fury unfolds, there is much credit to go around. But first, President Donald Trump should be commended for taking decisive action to end decades of violence against American soldiers, our bases in the region, and our cherished ally Israel. Again, this is Mike Pence. His willingness to strike at precisely the moment when the Ayatollah and some 40 senior Iranian officials and commanders were assembled and most vulnerable was a masterstroke. And I couldn't agree more. That is such a fascinating event that you have, almost because of the hubris and the cockiness of these leaders. They thought they were untouchable. They all meet in one place. My goodness. Anyway. And the president's willingness to ignore the growing voices of isolationism echoing from the fringes of Republican ranks, unleashing the most powerful military in the world, not just in this time, but last year in Operation Midnight Hammer, striking a devastating blow to Iran's nuclear program, was deeply admirable. Of course, the most credit goes to the men and women of America's armed forces serving at this very hour in harm's way. From the outset of hostilities, American service members deployed in Operation Epic Fury have performed with the utmost courage and professionalism. They deserve the admiration of every American and should remain daily in our prayers. Thanks to coordinated efforts of the American, Israeli, and Gulf nations' militaries, the Iranian military has already been seriously degraded, its leadership scattered or killed, and its ability to project force both inside and outside the region neutered. Today, the Iranian Navy sits at the bottom of the ocean. Air superiority has been established over the skies of Iran, and their capacity to launch missiles and wreak mayhem across the Middle East has been dramatically diminished. While partisans on the progressive left and isolationist right have been quick to question the president's decision to launch Operation Epic Fury, I believe that two historic objectives are finally within reach as a result of the courage of our military and our commander-in-chief's decisive leadership. First, the punishing air campaign against the security infrastructure and ballistic missiles of the Iranian regime could well put regime change within reach. Within days or weeks, the Iranian regime may be incapable of projecting force even against its own people, thereby allowing the long-suffering Iranian people the chance to rise up and retake their freedom, making America, Israel, and the world more secure. Again, if you're just joining us, this is Mike Pence. Second, Operation Epic Fury has the potential to reestablish the deterrent squandered by President Joe Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. Weakness arouses evil. It's no secret that America's weakness on the world stage under the Biden administration set the stage for Vladimir Putin's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine and for Hamas's brutal attack on Israel on October 7th, financed and approved by the mullahs in Tehran. With nearly flawless execution of Operation Epic Fury, our armed forces have sent a deafening message of America's military might echoing across the Arab world and in the halls of power in Moscow and Beijing. As Putin continues to wage his merciless war against Ukraine and China's President Xi Jinping and the People's Liberation Army continue to menace Taiwan, the overwhelming force displayed by the combined forces of the United States could well give them pause concerning plans for future military aggression. America's objective is not conquest. It never has been. It is the safety and security of the American people, our allies, in a region that has endured decades of violence at the hands of the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. Across the Arab world, there's been growing recognition that the mullahs are not merely wayward brothers, but foes and a serious threat that must be addressed. A free and liberated Iran creates an opportunity to restore balance across the region and strengthen cooperation among nations that share an interest in peace and prosperity, not sowing regional anarchy. The Abraham Accords may have just been the beginning of a new era of peace and cooperation across the Arab world. Today, the Iranian Navy sits at the bottom of the ocean. We already mentioned that part. America is at war, and history teaches that such moments require resolve. After the liberation of Kuwait in 1991, the United States chose not to finish the job and confront an Iraqi regime that had thrust the region into chaos. Within a decade, American forces returned. Today, the United States is taking action to cut out the heart of terrorism in the Middle East. With the courage of our armed forces and sustained leadership from Washington, Tel Aviv, and our growing list of regional allies, the ability of the Iranian regime to threaten its neighbors and oppress its people can be permanently degraded, if not destroyed. But America must see this fight through. To end the threat of the Iranian regime and restore America's credibility as the arsenal of democracy and the leader of the free world, America must finish the fight once and for all. None of this will come without sacrifice, and Operation Epic Fury has already claimed the last full measure of devotion from 7 brave Americans. As a parent and in-law of active duty service members, we know the pride but not the heartache of the families of our heroic fallen. Every American should carry these precious families in our prayers and assume that their loved ones' names will be enshrined in the hearts of a grateful nation forever. So in closing, Mike Pence says, for 47 years, the tyrants of Iran have waged a campaign of terror against the U.S., Israel, and the aspirations of the Iranian people. Bringing the era to a close will not only strengthen America's security, but will also open the door to a future in which the people of Iran are finally free to reclaim the promise of their proud and ancient nation from the grip of tyranny. And that would be a victory not only for America, but for the cause of liberty itself. I thought it was very nice by Mike Pence. All right, let's take a short break. We'll read some of your comments when we return. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat, live on stage. The world's #1 Cat in the Hat show is coming to North America. Young and old alike will delight in this brand new adaptation of the Dr. Seuss classic as it comes to life before your very eyes. The Cat in the Hat.
March 25th at the Clemens Center in downtown Elmira. Tickets at clemenscenter.org.
Looking for a meaningful day trip close to home? Visit the historic Elmira Prison Camp, one of the most significant Civil War sites in the North. Walk the grounds, stand where history happened, discover powerful stories of courage, sacrifice, and survival that shaped our nation. Whether you're a history enthusiast, a family looking to learn together, or simply exploring the Finger Lakes region, we offer an experience you won't forget. Plan your visit today at elmiracivilwar.org. Preserve, discover, remember.
Are you my rideshare?
No, I'm William Mattar. Just reminding people, if you're injured in a rideshare crash, to give me a call.
Thanks.
Hey, what about me?
Yep, drivers too. Injured in a rideshare crash that wasn't your fault? Give me a call.
Got it. Rideshare crash? Call William Mattar.
Right. Now on to the next rideshare. Rideshare crash? Only call William Mattar.
Hi there. Scattered showers and possibly a rumble of thunder today. Southwest wind around 10 to 15 miles per hour. We will see one more warm day. Highs in the low 70s and big changes on the horizon. That begins the cold front. We start to pass the region tonight. Upper 20s to mid 30s, and then we're stuck with mid 30s to near 40 for highs on Thursday. Behind that cold front, it's breezy. We will stay.
We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Coming up in just a few moments, we're going to be talking with Chemung County Executive Chris Moss, so don't miss that. Let's go to some viewer comments. I must amend my previous statement regarding the IQ of Whoopi Goldberg. The guy who said that the Iran war is basically a war that can't be won or won't be won has an IQ of minus 150. Plus, I won't appreciate that this idiot says that the American citizens are against this war. As for me, I'm all for eliminating these cowardly terrorists and fully support this effort. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Why would the administration tell Congress our strategy when Democrat Murphy had to tell the media about what went on in the closed-door meetings? You're 100% correct. It is so frustrating, and that they're just demanding it because it's a talking point for them. But they give away things they're not supposed to give. You think that those the Ayatollah Al Khamenei and the 40 leaders would have been able to be taken out in one foul swoop if he had told Congress before? Of course not. The word would have spread. So you're exactly right. All right, let's go to some New York State issues before we talk with Executive Moss. So the Assembly and the Senate both offered up their one-house budgets. We're going to talk about that. I realize I'm running late, so I don't know if I want to dive into the nitty-gritty on this quite yet. But we will be talking about it in just a moment after we talk with Executive Moss. But I did want to warn you that New York State Police and local law enforcement agencies will increase patrols through St. Patrick's Day to combat drunk, impaired, and reckless driving, according to Governor Hochul. The annual enforcement campaign will include DWI checkpoints, increased roving patrols, and checks at retail establishments to target underage drinking and unlawful sales to minors. We have zero tolerance for drunk, drugged, or reckless driving, all of which makes our streets less safe, and will be relentless in the pursuit of removing irresponsible and dangerous drivers from our roadways. All right. So there's a couple pieces that we will get to on this. But blue states, according to Betsy McKay, blue states are committing tax suicide. And their mania is contagious. It's not just New York and California. All across the nation, blue states are committing political and economic suicide by targeting millionaires with high taxes. Who will suffer most from this ideologically driven push to punish the wealthy? Wage workers and the poor. Leftist Democrat politicians demanding new state tax-the-rich measures are ignoring economic reality. Wealthy residents can and do move in response to unreasonable taxes, taking jobs, revenue, and even congressional representation with them. In Washington state this week, a slim Democrat majority is on the verge of passing a 9.9% income tax on millionaires. The Evergreen state has never had an income tax. The state constitution actually prohibits it, but Democratic Governor Bob Ferguson is vowing to sign this one into law. The Tax Foundation ranks Washington state a dismal 45th out of 50 in tax friendliness due to its heavy sales, capital gains, property, and excise taxes. This millionaire's tax will add to that burden and drive out businesses. The exodus has already started. Starbucks, a Seattle icon, is moving much of its corporate management to income tax-free Tennessee. But the Washington Education Association, the teachers union, is demanding tax the ultra-rich as its top legislative priority. Economic consequences be darned. It's the same in Illinois, whose teachers union's anti-rich mania is driving a push for a 3% surcharge on million-dollar earners. Illinois already has one of the heaviest tax burdens in the nation and is losing population because of it. To advocate for the millionaire's tax, the Illinois Federation of Teachers is claiming Massachusetts has had success with a similar measure. Massachusetts' 4% surtax on millionaires generated nearly $6 billion for public services since its passage. The union insists Illinois can do the same and produce the same disastrous results. Since passing that surtax in 2022, Massachusetts is struggling with a significant net population drop. The Pioneer Institute economist calls the hollowing out of Massachusetts' workforce and economy. Even venerable institutions like Cape Cod Potato Chips, which shut down in its last Bay State plant in January, have pulled out. In the last 5 years, at least 182,000 residents have fled to other states, causing a demographic decline and a serious brain drain. The evacuees skewed younger, particularly adults between 26 and 34, stripping the state's future workforce and tax base. Now, they continue, but it says, and in New York, Mayor Zohran Mamdani had told us plainly, I don't think we should have billionaires. The anti-wealth dogma is the enemy of prosperity. Residents of all these radical blue states would benefit if their political leaders phased out the state income tax entirely. It's an economy killer. The President's Council of Economic Advisors estimates show that phasing out Illinois' income tax, for example, would produce a $5,500 wage hike for the average worker. That is more pre-tax earnings and increased business startups by more than 26%. Every year, more Americans vote with their feet to settle in states like Texas, Tennessee, Florida. But the states that fall for the anti-wealth Marxist agenda taking over the Democrat Party will be left in the dust, with failing economies and shrinking clout in Congress, as their leaders' vindictive policies condemn their least mobile residents to poverty. There we go. All right, when we come back, Executive Moss, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Watch news from the Twin Tiers and catch local events on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
The best hockey rink?
Ask Google. The best jewelry store? Ask Google.
The best Ram dealer?
Ask Google. We did. Google reviews from customers rank Ferrario Ram in Elmira the highest Ram dealer in our area.
If you don't see me, I can't save you any money.
Check out the new Rams with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty during Ram Truck Month.
Visit Ferrario in Elmira or at Ferrario.com.
When a child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Become a wish maker today and be part of a journey that truly changes lives.
There have always been a few, ready to fight and win. Since 1775, these few have been Marines, and they come from across this land to defend the future of our nation. This year, our Corps celebrates 250 years, and Marines are proud to serve this country, each other, and all that is still to come for America.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson Studio, and in the Hesselson Studio, Chemung County Executive Chris Moss. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
It's always good to see you. We've got a lot to talk about.
Certainly.
So we know that you're obviously running for re-election. How are the petitions going?
Going good. Going good. Started about a week and a half ago. I think there's 2.5, 3 weeks to go. Get them done by the beginning of April and get them handed in. But no, we're in good shape.
You have to get, what, about 1,000?
Yep, about 1,000.
Okay, that's not too bad. So, I mean, this is kind of the softball question I ask everyone. Why did you decide to run for re-election?
Well, you know what? Initially, 2 terms is what I was going to do. But unfortunately, the pandemic really threw a wrench in that. I mean, nobody knew that was coming. That probably took 3 years out of the 7 I've done. I mean, it's you know, it was every day something to do with the pandemic. So in order to finish what I wanted to finish, I'd like to run one more term.
What are you hearing when you're knocking on doors, and you're out in the public a lot, and you're talking to people on the street? What are they saying? What are their concerns about the future of Chemung County?
You know what? Probably one of the biggest questions I answer is, how's the relationship with the legislature?
Okay,
because, you know, at times it's been contentious. But, you know what? I tell folks, I said, look, this legislature was sworn in January 1st of 2023. During that time, over 1,800 route slips have been forwarded to the legislatures, which will turn into the resolutions. I've asked for, I think, 13 board meetings with their leadership, 12 of which they've accepted. Okay. They've never asked to meet with me once. So, I mean, when I go to those meetings, I take an agenda. They don't have an agenda, so that leads me to believe they don't have a lot of questions. But I mean, I think it's going good overall. Look, I think it's good when you have back and forth. But when it gets back and forth to the extent that you're not getting the job done that the taxpayers want you to get done, you don't want to go that far. But I don't see it that. But look, there's a lot of good things happening in Chemung County, and unfortunately, a few people would like to accentuate the negatives. But I'm very pleased with the direction Chemung County and the Southern Tier as a whole is moving.
For those that don't know, and we should set the stage here, what are your responsibilities as an executive?
So, look, the executive branch takes care of the day-to-day operations of the county. The legislative branch does the appropriations. Once the budget is complete, then, you know, it's my job to make sure that we stay in budget, and 23 departments, offices as well, the sheriff's office, DA's office, treasurer's office, make sure that everybody stays within budget, let them know when they aren't, and, you know, everything from roads to the airport to a nursing facility to Department of Public Works to buildings and grounds, Department of Social Services. I mean, it's a big operation with 1,000 employees. But one thing I would like the public to remember is that not a one red cent gets spent without the legislature's approval. Okay. So when you hear a legislator or my opponent in this case saying, well, I'm not happy with the cost of this or the cost of that, and I use, we purchased the old Marine Midland Bank at 150 Lake Street.
Oh, yeah.
We purchased it for about $1 million with ARP money, but we knew at that time it was going to take a couple of million to go in. All the money spent was approved by the legislature. So I don't spend any money in the executive branch without the approval of the legislature. So if someone says, you know what, I don't like the amount of money being spent, well, you approved it. So, you know, and that's one of the concerns I have when I go around door knocking, like you said, hey, can you tell me about the sewer district? Or can you tell me about 150 Lake Street? I mean, look, and I explained, just like I explained here, I just said, look, everything that's being spent was approved by the legislature. There's a resolution to say, okay, yep, you can do this, you can do that. So the county executive, deputy executive, executive branch has no authority to spend money without the approval of the legislature. So if you see it happening, the legislature has approved it. So you can't turn around and say, I'm displeased or I'm going to look into this. You approved it.
Right. So, and that specifically, I'm glad you mentioned the sewer district, because that seemed to be an issue, and I've heard it from other people as well. Could you kind of explain, like, your side to it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a project nobody wants done, right? And it's an expensive project. It ends up raising, you know, the rates of people who utilize the service. But at the end of the day, it's within budget. I can tell you this: anytime there's a big fluctuation in a price, we do what's called a change order. Okay. The executive branch sends a change order up to the legislative branch, letting them know that this price has changed. I looked last week after I heard my opponent was making comments about it. 22 change orders have gone to the legislature in the last 3 years. 22.
Yeah.
So they've been made aware 22 different times that these prices were going to change, and they approved all 22 of them. We've had our executive director, Allie Rennie, does a phenomenal job with this project of the sewer district. She's been up there multiple times explaining the project. Last September, we set up a visit so we could show them the progress. They scheduled it all, and then they canceled it 2 days before, and then nobody showed up.
Okay.
But again, you know, when I hear, oh, we're going to look into, you know, how the money's being spent, we have a line-by-line item that they've received and they've approved. So to be honest with you, it's all political fodder. Look, we're not spending any money. I welcome any audit, any investigate. Come look at it. It's open book. Matter of fact, it's within budget, and they're doing a phenomenal job. Allie and her team, I cannot tell you. I mean, you go over there and listen to some of the terms they use. I mean, she is juggling multiple contractors to get this worked. And we have a deadline. If this isn't done by December 31st, it's $35,000 per day fine by the Fed and state. Wow. So, I mean, it's a project we inherited it.
Yeah.
And we have to do it. And I feel bad for people. We're seeing the rates, but I mean, the rates should about stabilize. We're hoping next year what they're at. But, you know, it was a considerable jump. But when you look at counties like Broome counties had to go through the same thing, Watkins Glen's gone through the same thing.
Sure.
Nobody wants to deal with those super expensive infrastructure projects, and unfortunately, they are expensive.
Right, and there's no political advantage for people to do because no one wants to talk
about. People are going to remember me for what? Flushing their toilet? I mean, come on.
You're going to put a plaque up on this?
Exactly. Everybody else gets a bridge or a park.
But there's also some other local issues that I think are worth mentioning, a little bit off topic from the campaign, but since I have you here, tell us a little bit about the Amazon facility that people have been talking about.
Certainly, like I said, lots of good things going on in Chemung County, and Amazon is one of them. So we're anticipating 100 jobs right there, possibly 200 to 300 drivers additional to that. So it looks like the permit process is going well. As a matter of fact, when I drove by this morning, I see some groundwork being done, some trees being cut, so that's a good thing. I think we were waiting for one last DEC approval on drainage and so forth. But other than that, it's coming to fruition. And I can remember when I first became county executive in 2019, I wrote letters to Amazon trying to talk them into the 17 Aviation Drive building because I thought it would be perfect, all the warehouse space and right there connected to the airport. And, you know, we sent them booklets and so forth. Never transpired, but you know what? We'll take this.
Absolutely. I mean, Amazon facility, because Amazon's not going anywhere.
No, it's everywhere, and it's only getting bigger. So I think we're fortunate to have it here. We'll take the jobs. Again, it's just one of many things that are positive.
And the opportunities for residents, because I know even people that do the driving just on their own free time.
Certainly, yeah.
A lot of people make a lot of extra money that way. Also, what do you see as the future of the LECOM Event Center? Where are we at today? I think we've talked about this every time you've been on the program.
We have. Yeah. Look, I make no bones about it. Mark Stemmerman threw a lifeline to the IDA. Without him taking over that facility, they'd have been broke come this June or July. It's that simple. I think he's doing a great job with it. I do talk to him occasionally. I think it's going in a good direction. I know they've had a couple of sellouts at a couple of events and so forth. I always see kids down there playing hockey, which is it's an important component there because there's not a lot of places for kids to play hockey around here. Was I satisfied with the IDA running the? Absolutely not. Wasted millions of dollars. And right there, again, I heard my opponent say they're not tax dollars. Well, let me tell you something. Since I've been county executive, the IDA receives $200,000 right from the county directly every year. Okay. So I've been county executive for 7 years, so you can do the math. $1.4 million they've gotten already. That is straight tax dollars. They've gotten another $700,000 in ARP money. That is tax dollars. Now we can argue all day long whether money they make from pilots is tax money or not, but regardless, they are to sit here and say that they don't receive tax dollars. You either don't know what you're talking about, or you're being disingenuous. One or the other, because they do receive those tax dollars. Anybody can look it up. It's common knowledge. But overall, the arena can be a key focus in downtown Elmira. I think it is. I think it's as big as it ever has been, and I think Mark's doing a great job with it. So, you know what? If there's anything the county can do to help them out, we're looking at some different things we might be able to do, but I think it's going in the right direction now that it's in private hands. Doesn't belong in public hands.
No, and I was really impressed. I was down that way, and this is going to be my segue to my next question, but down that way, that's really looking good over in that area.
It is. It does.
A lot of new businesses, restaurants, bars.
It is. It's busy. I mean, I went down through there Saturday night. Yeah. There are a lot of things going on, from illegal. It's like 4 or 5 blocks of a lot of business. So it's been a long time coming. So I hope they're successful.
And the reason I was down there, and you offer a unique perspective on this, because Bruce Blakeman was in the area, who was running for governor and Republican ticket. And I think this is interesting because he's an executive like you, and also you, of course, had the lieutenant governor run. So what are you thinking of the race so far?
I know Bruce.
Okay.
You know what? Obviously, I was a Elise fan when she first announced before he got into the race. I was 100% behind her. Now, obviously, I'll support Bruce. I think it's a whole different philosophy. He's 20 points down, I think, or maybe as of last week in the last poll I saw. A lot of work to do. Obviously, we need a big turnout in upstate New York, maybe a smaller turnout in New York City, and then Long Island's got a turnout for him. He's thinking that, since he's from Nassau, that will get to Suffolk and Nassau County. So we'll see what happens. He seems to have a lot of energy. I mean, I see him all over. He's got a big social media presence. It takes money, though, so I'll be interested to see where the money's going to come from at the end of the day, because Hochul's just raking it in from all over the United States.
She has a war chest that's it's untouchable. That's what was disappointing about, not to belabor this, but the Stefanik dropping out, because she's a fundraising juggernaut. Yeah, that would have been interesting to see.
I mean, it's always an uphill battle for statewide Republicans. So, look, all we can do is jump on and make sure we get out there and vote and hope for the best.
When you did that, you miss that? Like going all around the state like that? That was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work. You met a lot of interesting people, though.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I enjoyed it. I don't think I would do it again knowing what I know today. Sure. Unless I had $25 million in the bank.
Right.
It's tough for anybody to do. And... I don't know. I don't know. Not for lieutenant governor. Maybe for governor.
Maybe for. Oh, hey, you heard it here first. Well, just before we go, I think we covered just about everything. But what does the year look like ahead for Chemung County?
Look, so for the first time ever, we're going to have a State of the County address. That's going to be at the end of the month.
Cool.
Other counties do it. I've gone to the State of the address the last 2 years. And you know what? It kind of is a good idea, because I think what it lets you do is show everybody all the good things that are happening. It's like a pep rally. And to be honest with you, an election year, what better time to do it, right?
That's the year to start.
Exactly. But what we have is a comprehensive plan. So with the ARP funding, we were paying for a comprehensive plan. It's going to go to the legislature hopefully in May or June. So, and again, I hear my opponent say we need a comprehensive plan. He sits on the committee for the last 24 months of this overall comprehensive plan. It's going to be nice. So we'll get it to the legislature hopefully in May or June. But I think the comprehensive plan meshes well with our State of the County address. And it just talks about things like, Siemens, Amazon, all the generational manufacturing businesses we have in Chemung County, and how fortunate we are, with the airport and so forth. So I'm looking forward to it. I think we'll get a good crowd. We'll be able to showcase everything that's positive going on in Chemung County.
All right, just before we go, how can people get involved with your campaign? It's petition season. If they want to help, what's the best way?
Certainly. You can just log on to www.mossforexec.com. There's contact buttons through there, and reach out. Whether it's a yard sign, you want to carry a petition, you want to give $10, whatever you want to do, we appreciate it.
Well, Chris, thanks for giving us so much time this morning. Let's do it again soon.
You got it.
All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
More cars, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Whether you're in the market for new, used, or certified pre-owned, Simmons Rockwell locations across the Twin Tiers have more of what you're looking for with our best price right on the windshield. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
Kyle just made a decision that would change his whole world.
Hey, you're sober? You drive.
Kyle just made a decision that would change his whole world. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Tide isn't just a gentle ebb and flow. It's a mighty force of change. Just like the tide shapes our shorelines, we can shape our planet's future and protect the world's oceans from its biggest threats. Help us turn the tide. Join Oceana's wave of ocean advocates who are making a difference in the world.
One more warm day, highs in the low 70s.
Just like I explained here.
Hi there. Scattered showers and possibly a rumble of thunder today. Southwest wind around 10 to 15 miles per hour. We will see one more warm day. Highs in the low 70s and big changes on the horizon. That begins the cold front. We start to pass the region tonight. Upper 20s to mid 30s, and then we're stuck with mid 30s to near 40 for highs on Thursday. Behind that cold front, it's breezy. We will stay.
And we are back. Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We want to thank Chemung County Executive Chris Moss for being on the program this morning. As always, we will get that interview up a little bit later on to our YouTube and website, WYDCTV.com. If you missed it, we'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Like this viewer who writes in, Chris is definitely on top of his game. He is obviously knowledgeable, has a clear vision of what needs to be done and how to get there. He has my vote. I just hope he is a Republican. He is a Republican. That is going to be a Republican primary in June. Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Good morning, Rick. War's on, war's off, war's on, war's off. Hey, Pete, what do you think? War's on or war's off? Hey, Trump, I know you're a military brain. Iran is one of those places where the people who support the regime need to become extinct. Until that happens, there is a threat from Iran. They're nuts, absolutely out of their minds, and they have zero respect for life. How do you change that mindset? By the way, who the heck is Trump's makeup person? Wow, orange hair, orange skin. Wow, is this a new one? What gives? How now he looks and sounds ridiculous. Well, I'm waiting. Okay. Man, the orange, I'm telling you, orange jokes will never get old, will they? I say don't freshen it up. So we were talking about New York State issues before we went to break. For months, Governor Hochul has remained steadfast in her refusal to raise taxes in New York, despite a public campaign for her to do so, led by Mayor Zohran Mamdani. The pressure on her to change her mind will grow, with the state Senate and Assembly expected to call for tax increases in their initial budget proposals, and that's exactly what happened. In the Assembly's one-house budget proposal, it includes both tax increases and tax relief, according to this piece. As expected, the lower house increased the personal income tax on New Yorkers earning more than $5 million a year, a hike that would impact 14,000 taxpayers and raise $2.9 billion in fiscal year 2027 and 2028. So again, going after we talk about this with the unfortunate idea that if you do this, thinking that they're going to tax the rich and make good on that campaign promise, we're going to see a scenario where those people are leaving the state. Now, will they be replaced by lower income people? Yes, that's what historically we've been seeing. So it causes this drain. But that's what we'll tell you what the Senate's proposing in just a moment. There's also a proposal to increase the corporate franchise tax, as well as a new tax on crypto mining, which together would raise just under $2 billion. On the other side of the ledger, rebate checks could be back if an Assembly proposal is adopted, called the Power Rebate Check. Is to assist residential ratepayers with high utility bills. It would benefit 5.4 million residential ratepayers. POWER is an acronym, as you could imagine, for Protect Our Wallets Energy Rebate Checks. The Assembly proposal would cost $2.6 billion and would help 5.4 million residents with rising costs of utilities. Households would receive $500 for income below $150,000 and $300 for incomes between $150,000 and $300,000. So $500 if the power rebate check is included in the final budget proposal or budget bill. The Assembly also promises to provide a tax cut to low and middle income New Yorkers earning below $323,200. The average tax cut is estimated to be $446. There are some other, obviously, things in this budget. We're not going to go into it because it gets a little bit wonky with some of the aspects to where this money is going. I did see that they added, where was it for? I thought I saw CHIPS funding. Yeah, $26.5 million in capital for highways and roads, CHIPS funding. Now, on the Senate side of things, the Senate's $269.8 billion budget proposal. That's, what, about $5 billion more? No. $7 billion more than the governor's billion. $7 billion more than the governor's proposal. It includes a 0.5% income tax surcharge on the top two income brackets in the state, which currently stands at 10.9% for income over $25 million and 10.3% for income between $5 million and $25 million. So a half a percentage point on those. The Senate is also proposing an increase in the statewide corporate tax rate from 7.25% to 9% for those with business incomes over $5 million. There's an additional proposal to adjust the pass-through entity tax credit to 90%, bringing in an estimated $1.8 billion. I know this is all a little bit wonky, but the Senate also proposed also ends sales tax exemptions on some luxury goods, including luxury boats valued at $230,000. A few other revenue changes, including new taxes on non-essential helicopter rides in New York City, a doubling of the credit for installing solar energy systems from $5,000 to $10,000, and making that credit refundable for low-income taxpayers, an increase the volunteer firefighter and ambulance worker credit from $200 to $600. So that's a quick look. It comes as no surprise, as the New York Times was reporting before it's not good when you can report before the budgets of one house budgets are proposed that you can already predict that it's going to raise taxes. But we talked about this in the past. In Albany, there's a lot of people that want to kind of piggyback off of Zohran Mamdani's talking points during the campaign, which was tax the rich. So this is kind of the opening. The one house budgets are the opening, I guess, part of this fight, if you will, that will continue with Governor Hochul, Andrew Stewart Cousins, and Carl Hastie, the three people in the room. The state's budget, if you're not aware, is due April 1st, though it talks about very often stretched well past that statutory deadline. Hastie said, I have to get the city to a solid financial position. I know the governor has her stances, but it's very important that we finish this budget process with trying to get these cities as close to whole as we can get. All right, we can talk a little bit more about New York State issues. We got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined up here at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
This isn't Jim's library. Create with the 3D printer. Release your inner audio engineer or sewing machine rentals, all with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
Brought to you Toyota, proud sponsor of the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, hello. I'm really not sure if this is what you all do, but I really don't have anywhere else to turn.
Hi. I don't even know why I'm calling right now. I'm sorry. My thoughts are going a mile a minute.
My kids are out of state. My buddies from the Army are all gone now. I'm really alone.
I left the service last year. My mom just passed away a few months ago. I miss so much time with her. I keep getting calls about the bills, and I'm trying to get a job, but I feel so stuck.
Okay, ma'am. I'm glad you called.
Okay, sir. Let's stay on the line and walk through some things.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you for joining us. Waves still coming in. A lot going on. Thank you. Let's go to some viewer comments. First one, does anyone really think Hochul won't raise taxes after the election? Oh, and I think if she is successful, I think you have, and we're going to talk about this in a moment, but all the climate laws that she's trying to hold back on for a while, all the things that are causing our electric and gas to skyrocket, all those, right now she realizes she has to look like she's doing something to bring those costs down. But once November's over, right back to things as usual. Comment from a viewer, I knew New York City was going to cause financial burdens for us in upstate. We need to become the 51st state and get rid of these useless saps like Buffalo and Rochester, not to mention the obviously biggest sap, New York City. Okay. And then they came back and said parasites was a word I couldn't think of when I wrote the above, which was saps. Either way works. Mark writes in, Governor Hochul's tax the rich is no more than a Robin Hood effect. Steal from the rich and give to the poor. It won't work as the rich will just leave, so the poor will have to make up the difference. Exactly. For those that stay in the state, we'll have to make up that difference because we know they're not going to cut back on the budget. So we're seeing that. And there's been a lot of pieces, and it's not just happening in New York, as that piece from Betsy McKay was talking about. When you have the tax the rich, that is why Florida and Texas and so many others are doing so great. And we talk about the financial sector in New York City, and I know I've mentioned this a million times, but they're starting to call it Y'all Street in Texas because they're having all these financial institutions come to Texas. Okay, but we mentioned the climate law. John Campbell says New York's lofty goal to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions has run into a major roadblock. Governor Hochul's election year quest to make the state more affordable. Number one, the important takeaway there is because it's an election year, she's doing this, but also it's important to remember once that election's over, that idea of affordability will no longer be important to her. That your increase in electric and gas prices will no longer be important because, again, Albany needs to virtue signal and show that they care the most about the environment. Hochul, who is seeking a second full term this year, is pushing lawmakers to roll back the state's landmark 2019 climate law, which has been hailed by environmentalists and climate activists nationwide for its mandate to cut emissions 40% by 2030. Here's the problem. We don't need to go through all the numbers. We've talked about it a million times. The technology is not there. The grid is not ready for it. So this pie in the sky idea where they said, we're going to do all these, get these great numbers and be able to signal that we care the most, we are not there, and that is why we have the cost that we have. The governor, and they ask yourself why the media always has to go out of their way to say this. The governor, a moderate Democrat, says she stands by the intent of the law, which also includes targets to shift the state's power grids to renewable energy. But Hochul has drawn the conclusion that the financial cost of making the climate goals a reality doesn't align with her unrelenting focus on affordability, which she made the central theme of her 2026 campaign for a second full term. Well, she didn't make it that. She stole it from Zohran Mamdani. Now, Zohran Mamdani's definition of affordable is having taxpayers pay for everything, using tax dollars to pay for everything. So that was his, but she saw that as a winning strategy. Same reason why she's going to the left even further. So it's affordability. But again, that all goes by the wayside after the November election. Hochul has not yet made any specific proposals to scale the law back, and her negotiations with lawmakers are still in the early phases. But if her push is successful, it could dull a line of attack from Bruce Blakeman and other Republicans who have already dubbed the climate law the Hochul tax. It would also put her directly at odds with many of her fellow Democrats at the state capitol, more than 24 of whom have already said they're unwilling to roll it back. Hochul told reporters, for us to meet the goals on the time frame that was set by the legislature, there's going to be enormous cost to families, enormous. For businesses suffering from already high energy costs and tariffs, it's cataclysmic. Again, you have to go back and look at why are these costs so high? It's because of these policies to begin with. So rolling it back doesn't make things more affordable. You can't cause the problem and then claim that you fixed it. And we don't need to go through all the specifics because I know we talk about it quite frequently, and I have to take a break. Get your last second comments in, and we'll be right back to wrap up today's edition after this.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
The best hot cocoa?
Ask Google. The best ski resort? Ask Google.
The best Jeep dealer?
Ask Google. We did. Google reviews from customers rank Ferrario Jeep in Elmira the highest Jeep dealer in our area.
If you don't see me, I can't save you any money.
Check out the new Jeeps during our President's Day sales event.
Visit Ferrario in Elmira or at Ferrario.com.
Hi there. Scattered showers and possibly a rumble of thunder today. Southwest wind around 10 to 15 miles per hour. We will see One more warm day, highs in the low 70s and big changes on the horizon. That begins the cold front. We start to pass the region tonight. Upper 20s to mid 30s, and then we're stuck with mid 30s to near 40 for highs on Thursday. Behind that cold front, it's breezy. We will stay.
We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments as we get ready to wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Ken writes in, do you think Mamdani will ever get the message that making it more costly to do business in New York City will force businesses to restructure and leave for cheaper areas like Amazon is doing? That's a great point, Ken. No, I think it's that same kind of mindset that tells you that even though socialism has never worked, we can make it work now. It's kind of an egotistical worldview. So even though this has in the past caused businesses to leave, not this time. Remember, we even had that one media outlet that tried to report that. No, the rich don't leave. They're not going to leave. Just don't worry about it. Mark writes in, I think there needs to be an investigation into Hochul to see if she's getting kickbacks from NYSEG. It sure seems that. Well, according to that piece, she is trying to preach affordability by reining in the climate law. But a problem is when you have the Mamdani effect, you have a lot of people in Albany that are going farther left, going for the Democrat Socialists of America. So they're not going to give in an inch on the climate law. So that is going to be an interesting fight in an election year for Governor Hochul. One last thing before we go, and you can find this for yourself, but the headline is from the New York Post. And it says, with no food, electricity, or medical care, Cubans are asking God to help and bring us Donald Trump. There's power outages, increase in crime, no trash collection, and climbing inflation. The 34-year-old pro-democracy activist can barely find enough food to feed his child. His name's Pedro Carmentin. Due to the lack of food, he's keeping his kids, age 6 and 15 years old, from class, although he also notes teachers have stopped showing up to the government-run schools. He said, I am not a religious person, but I pray to God for Donald Trump. He is our only hope for freedom. And they went through and showed you some pictures and did a lot of interviews with residents of Cuba. You can find that for yourself at the New York Post. Okay, that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everybody who joined us. I want to thank Chemung County Executive Chris Moss. We appreciate him being on the program. That will be posted later on in the day to our YouTube page if you missed any of it or if you want to share it. Our YouTube page as well as WYDCTV.com. On tomorrow's broadcast, we're going to be talking with Elmira College and the Drama Club. We have 2 cast members from the adaptation of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. So that'll be on the program. They will be on the program, tomorrow. And then on Friday, it's Horsehead's Mayor, Kevin Adams. Whew. What a way to round out the weekend. Of course, what we mentioned earlier in the week, looking at the calendar, Friday will be the 3rd year of Frankly Speaking live on the air here on WYDCTV.com. Nothing big planned, but we'll celebrate together as we do every morning. Starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC-TV Big Fox. We'll see you tomorrow morning bright and early. I look forward to it already. Have a great day.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselsen's in Elmira Heights. At Hesselsen's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselsen's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselsen's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Elmira Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Allegiance from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.